A teenage girl sits on a low wooden stool in a one-room house in a hill town nobody important has ever visited. The town is called Nazareth. She is mending the seam of a garment. The sun hangs low in the sky, and then the room fills with light. You can feel the fear rising in her chest before her mind even catches up. An angel stands in front of her, and the angel speaks 6 words that will echo through every century. Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. Years later, that same young woman stands at a wedding in Cana. The wine has run out. The shame is thick in the air. And Jesus is there. His mother leans close and says the most important sentence anyone ever spoke to him. Do whatever he tells you. You watch as Jesus looks at 6 stone water jars lined against the wall. He tells the servants to fill them to the brim. They pour. And when they draw the water out again, it is no longer water. It is the finest wine anyone at that wedding has ever tasted. This, the first of his signs, Jesus did at Cana in Galilee. And his disciples believed in him. But here is what most people miss. This is not a story about magic tricks. This is not a story about a man who could do cool things. This is not even a story about miracles. This is a story about every time the God of the universe stepped into human pain and said, "Watch what I can do with it." And there was one miracle that would change everything. The day Jesus stood outside a tomb in Bethany and shouted a dead man's name into total darkness. We will get to that tomb, but not yet. You feel the wonder rising already, don't you? Because these are not random acts of power. Every single one of them follows a pattern. Every single one of them is an invitation. And by the time we reach the final miracle in this video, you will see it clearly. For 2,000 years, people have counted how many miracles Jesus performed. They will tell you it is 37. They are not wrong, but they are not telling the whole story either. Stay with me. We are about to walk through every single recorded miracle Jesus ever did. Not as a list, as a journey. And you are going to feel every single one of them in your chest. Because this is not ancient history. This is your story too. You can almost smell the fear. A man covered head to toe in leprosy stands at the edge of the crowd. His skin is raw. His voice is hoarse from years of shouting the same 2 words. Unclean. Unclean. No one touches him. No one comes near. He has not felt another human hand in longer than he can remember. And then Jesus walks straight toward him. You watch the man fall to his knees. "Lord, if you will, you can make me clean." Jesus stops. The crowd holds its breath. And then Jesus does the one thing no one else would ever do. He reaches out. He touches the untouchable. And he says 3 words that change everything. I will. Be clean. In that instant, the leprosy is gone. The skin is new. The man stands up whole. And for the first time in years, he can walk back into his own village without fear. That is the first kind of miracle Jesus performed. The miracle of touch for the one everyone else avoided. But it gets stranger. Now we move to Capernaum. A man named Jairus, ruler of the synagogue, pushes through the crowd and falls at Jesus' feet. His 12-year-old daughter is dying. He has tried everything. The doctors have failed. The prayers have failed. And now he is desperate enough to beg a carpenter from Nazareth in front of all his neighbors. "Lord, come and lay your hands on her, so that she will be healed and live." Jesus agrees. They begin walking toward Jairus' house. The crowd presses in, and then something happens that stops everything. A woman who has suffered for 12 years with a bleeding disorder pushes her way forward. She has spent every coin she owned on doctors and only gotten worse. She is ritually unclean. She is not supposed to be in public, but she has heard about Jesus. And she thinks, if I can just touch the fringe of his garment, I will be healed. You can feel her heart pounding as she reaches out. Her fingers brush the hem of his robe. And in that moment, power leaves Jesus' body. She feels it instantly. The bleeding stops. The weakness vanishes. She is healed. Jesus stops the entire procession. He turns and asks, "Who touched me?" The disciples think he is crazy. The crowd is huge. But Jesus knows. He keeps looking until his eyes find hers. And then he says the word that changes her forever. "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." While he is still speaking, messengers arrive from Jairus' house. "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" You see the light go out of Jairus' eyes. But Jesus turns to him and says, "Do not fear. Only believe." They reach the house. Mourners are already wailing. Jesus sends them all outside except the parents and 3 of his disciples. He takes the little girl by the hand, and speaks two Aramaic words that the whole world would one day know. Talitha Kumi. Little girl, arise. And she sits up. She walks. She eats. And her parents are left staring at each other in stunned silence. This is what dunamis looks like. Raw, unstoppable power that answers the deepest cries of the human heart. The leper who no one would touch. The father who thought he was too late. The woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. And every single one of them walked away whole. You are beginning to see the pattern, aren't you? Jesus never performs a miracle just to show off. He always meets the person exactly where they are. In their shame, in their grief, in their last ounce of faith. And he turns the impossible into the undeniable. We are only 3 miracles in, and already the stakes are climbing. The untouchable. The dying child. The woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. And Jesus answered every single one. Stay with me, because what comes next will take us from personal desperation to public chaos, and then to something even darker. You are standing in a small fishing boat on the Sea of Galilee. The sun has gone down. The wind is picking up, and the waves are starting to slap against the side of the boat like angry hands. Jesus is asleep in the back. The disciples are rowing harder, but the storm is winning. Water is coming over the sides. They are terrified, and then one of them shakes Jesus awake and shouts, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" You feel the fear in that moment. These are seasoned fishermen. They have seen storms before, but this one is different. This one feels personal. Jesus stands up in the middle of the boat. He looks at the wind and the waves and speaks 3 words. Peace. Be still. And the wind stops. The sea goes flat. The only sound left is the disciples breathing hard in the sudden silence. Who then is this? They whisper to each other. That even the wind and the sea obey him. That is dunamis on display, raw power over creation itself. But it gets stranger. Now we cross the sea to the region of the Gerasenes, a Gentile area. And the moment the boat touches shore, a man comes running out of the tombs. He is naked. He is screaming. He has chains on his wrists and ankles that he has broken more times than anyone can count. The locals have tried everything. They have chained him. They have beaten him. Nothing works. His name is Legion, not because that is what his mother called him, because that is what the demons inside him call themselves. My name is Legion, he growls, for we are many. You can almost feel the darkness pressing in. This man has not slept in a real bed in years. He lives among the dead. He cuts himself with stones. And every night the demons drive him further into the wilderness. Jesus steps out of the boat, and the demons start begging. Do not torment us. Send us into the pigs instead. And Jesus gives one command. The demons leave. The man sits down. He is clothed. He is in his right mind. And for the first time and longer than he can remember, he is free. The people of the town are terrified. They beg Jesus to leave. But the man who was Legion begs to go with him. Jesus looks at him and says something beautiful. Go home to your own people and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you. And that is exactly what he does. The first evangelist to the Gentile world was a former demoniac who had lived among the tombs. Here is what most people miss. Jesus did not just heal this man. He restored his dignity. He gave him a purpose. He turned the most broken person in the region into the first person to carry the good news to his own people. And this is where it gets remarkable. Now we move to a hillside near Bethsaida. 5,000 men plus women and children are sitting on the grass. They have followed Jesus all day. They are hungry. The disciples want to send them away. But Jesus looks at a little boy's lunch, 5 loaves and 2 small fish, and says, "Bring them to me." You watch as he takes the bread, looks up to heaven, gives thanks, and breaks it. The disciples start passing it out, and it never runs out. Everyone eats until they are full. 12 baskets of leftovers are collected. That same night the disciples get back in the boat. Jesus stays behind to pray. A storm rises again. And in the middle of the night, in the middle of the lake, they see a figure walking on the water toward them. They think it is a ghost. They cry out in fear. But then they hear his voice. Take heart. It is I. Do not be afraid. Peter shouts back, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. Jesus says one word, come. And Peter steps out of the boat. For a few glorious seconds, he is walking on the waves. Then he looks at the wind, feels the fear, and begins to sink. Lord, save me. Jesus reaches out his hand and catches him. Why did you doubt? "O you of little faith." You feel the weight of that question even now. Because every miracle we have seen so far, the leper, Jairus' daughter, the woman with the blood, the storm, the demoniac, the feeding of the 5,000, and now walking on water, all of them are pointing to the same truth. Jesus is not just a healer. He is not just a teacher. He is the Lord over sickness, over death, over demons, over creation, and over fear itself. And he is still asking the same question to every person who watches this video. Why did you doubt? We are moving into the final stretch now. The stakes are about to reach their highest point. And the open loop we planted at the beginning, the tomb in Bethany, is about to be opened. Stay with me. Now we come to the miracle we have been waiting for since the very first minute of this video. You are standing outside a tomb in Bethany. The air is heavy with grief. Martha and Mary have lost their brother. Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. The body is already wrapped. The stone is rolled across the entrance. And the sisters are shattered. When Jesus arrives, Martha runs to meet him. Her first words are the same words you have probably whispered in the dark. "Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died." You feel the ache in that sentence. It is the cry of every person who has ever stood at a graveside. It is the cry of every parent who has lost a child. It is the cry of every heart that has asked, "God, where were you?" Jesus does not give her a quick answer. He simply says, "Your brother will rise again." Martha thinks he is talking about the final resurrection. But Jesus is about to do something far more immediate. He asks to see the tomb. They walk together to the cave. The stone is still in place. And then something happens that changes everything. Jesus weeps. The Son of God, the one who calmed storms and cast out legions, stands in front of a tomb and cries. You can see the tears on his face. You can hear the grief in his voice. He is not pretending. He feels the weight of death the same way you do. And then he does the one thing no one expected. He looks at the stone and says, "Take it away." Martha warns him, "Lord, by now there will be an odor." For days in the heat of Israel. But Jesus is not moved by the smell of death. He is moved by something far greater. He lifts his eyes to heaven and prays out loud so everyone can hear. "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I said this for the sake of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." Then he shouts with a loud voice, the same voice that spoke creation into existence, the same voice that calmed the storm, the same voice that called a little girl out of death, and he cries, "Lazarus, come out." And the dead man walks out of the tomb, still wrapped in grave clothes, still smelling of death, but alive, breathing, whole. The same brother who had been cold and stiff for 4 days is now hugging his sisters in front of a stunned crowd. This is the Samayan, the sign that points to everything. The open loop we planted at the beginning has been resolved. The tomb in Bethany is no longer a place of darkness. It is the place where death itself was forced to obey the voice of Jesus. And here is the part nobody tells you. The same voice that shouted, "Lazarus, come out," is the voice that will one day shout your name. The same power that raised a man who had been dead 4 days is the power that will one day empty every grave. Josephus, the Jewish historian writing just 60 years after this event, recorded that Jesus was known even outside the church as a doer of wonderful works. The raising of Lazarus was so public, so undeniable, that the religious leaders immediately plotted to kill both Jesus and Lazarus. They could not explain it away. They could only try to silence it. But you cannot silence the voice that speaks life into death. You are standing at that tomb right now in your own life, aren't you? Maybe it is not a literal grave. Maybe it is a broken marriage. Maybe it is a prodigal child. Maybe it is a dream that died years ago. Maybe it is your own heart that feels cold and wrapped in grave clothes. And you have whispered the same words Martha whispered. "Lord, if only you had been here." Jesus is still answering that cry. He is still the one who weeps with you. He is still the one who says, "Take away the stone." He is still the one who shouts into the darkness of your situation and says, "Come out." This is not just a story about a man named Lazarus. This is a story about you. Because every miracle we have walked through in this video, the leper, the little girl, the woman with the blood, the storm, the demoniac, the feeding of the 5,000, walking on water, every single one of them was pointing to this moment. Jesus is Lord over every kind of death. And the greatest miracle is still to come. So what do we do with all of this? Here are 3 takeaways that I want you to carry with you long after this video ends. First, every single miracle Jesus performed reveals him as the one who meets you in your exact need. Whether you are the leper no one will touch, the father who thinks he is too late, the woman who has been bleeding for 12 years, the one living among the tombs, or the person standing at a grave, Jesus is not distant. He is present, and he is still saying, I will, be clean, Talitha Kumi, and come out. Second, your faith, even if it is only reaching for the hem of his garment, still moves him today. You do not have to have perfect faith. You do not have to have loud faith. You only have to have reaching faith. The same power that left Jesus' body when that woman touched his robe is still flowing, and it is still available to you right now. But the third takeaway is the one I want you to remember when everything else feels dark. The same voice that shouted, Lazarus, come out, is the voice that will one day shout your name. Death is not the end of your story. The tomb is not the final chapter. Because the Jesus who walked out of his own grave 3 days after the cross is the same Jesus who will one day call every single person who belongs to him out of every grave. You are not forgotten. You are not too far gone. You are not beyond his reach. Which miracle in this video hit you the hardest? Tell me in the comments below. I read every single one, and I want to know your story. For 2,000 years, people have tried to explain these miracles away. They have called them myths. They have called them exaggerations. They have called them impossible. They are wrong. These are not explanations. These are invitations. An invitation to the leper. An invitation to the desperate father. An invitation to the woman who had nothing left. An invitation to the man living among the tombs. And an invitation to you. The same Jesus who performed every miracle in this video is still performing miracles today. And he is still asking the same question he asked Peter on the water. Why did you doubt? Do not doubt any longer. Reach out, touch the hem, and listen for the voice that calls the dead to life. Because one day, maybe sooner than you think, you will hear him say your name. And when he does, every grave will open.